Hey everyone, something absolutely massive just happened that could signal a huge shift in the global economy. The US government is placing an enormous bet on the mining sector, and we're going to break down exactly what that means, why it's all happening right now, and what it tells us about the future. Okay, let's just jump right into the number that completely blindsided Wall Street. The US government just pumped $1.6 billion into a single rare earth mining company. This is the largest government investment of its kind in American history. It's a huge deal. And get this, it's not a loan, it's not a grant. For that money, the government gets a 10% stake in the company, making them a major shareholder. As the quote on the screen says, this is Papa Sam sending a clear signal that the government is getting directly involved to lock down these critical resources. So you gotta ask, right? What is really going on here? Why this massive investment? Why the mining industry, of all things? And why now? Well, the answer pulls together geopolitics, technology, and three of the biggest economic megatrends on the entire planet. To really get our heads around the government's move, we first have to understand the materials at the very heart of this story. This is all about the global race for what are called rare earth metals. Now, these things are just absolutely critical. We're talking about 17 specific elements on the periodic table, and honestly, their names sound like they're straight out of a Harry Potter spellbook. You've got neodymium, dysprosium, but trust me, you can't build almost any piece of modern technology without them. They are essential for the high-performance magnets you find in literally everything, from your iPhone to an F-35 fighter jet, and from massive wind turbines to the motor in an electric car. And here's a really important point that a lot of people get wrong. Despite the name rare earths, these metals, they aren't actually that rare. You can find them all over the globe. The real problem, the bottleneck, is the processing. Turning that raw ore into the super high purity metals you need is an incredibly difficult, dirty, and expensive process. And this right here, this chart, it perfectly lays out the huge geopolitical problem we're facing. For the last 30 years or so, all that complicated, dirty processing work was basically outsourced. And what's the result? Well, today, China controls roughly 90% of the entire global processing capacity for these metals. And having that level of dependency on a single country for the literal building blocks of modern tech and defense, well, that's now being seen as a major strategic risk. So, how does this one investment connect to the bigger picture? Well, this race for materials isn't happening in a vacuum, not at all. It's being supercharged by three enormous, multi-decade trends that are all crashing together at the exact same time. So these three drivers are creating what you could call a perfect storm of demand for the exact same raw materials. You have the explosion in artificial intelligence, the global transition to green energy, and a worldwide ramp-up in defense spending. Let's take a quick look at each one. First up, the AI boom. It's easy to think of AI as just software, right? Something that lives in the cloud. But wow, does it have a massive physical footprint? AI needs these enormous data centers, and building them creates a feeding frenzy for materials. Just look at this. By 2030, these data centers will need as much electricity as the entire country of France, and that requires tons and tons of copper, steel, and aluminum. Second, you've got the energy transition. This whole shift is just incredibly metal intensive. Every single electric vehicle, every wind turbine, every solar panel, they all require way more minerals than their fossil fuel counterparts. Take a car, for example. A single EV needs about 3 times more copper than a regular gas-powered car. Now, scale that up across the globe, the demand becomes absolutely staggering. And the third driver is defense. All around the world, countries are modernizing their militaries and boosting their defense budgets. And every single piece of advanced weaponry, from missiles and drones to jets and ships, is just packed with copper, aluminum, and of course those crucial rare earth metals needed for advanced electronics and guidance systems. So, what happens? What happens when you have three massive long-term trends all demanding the same limited pool of resources all at the same time? Well, you might just be looking at the start of what economists call a supercycle. Now, a supercycle isn't your normal boom and bust. No, this is different. It's a structural, long-term thing. We're talking about a decade or even more, where demand fundamentally, structurally outstrips supply, which keeps prices way up for a very long time. To really put this into perspective, let's look back at the last big metals supercycle. It ran from about the year 2000 to 2014. And what drove that? One single massive trend: the modernization of China. Its unprecedented build-out of cities, railways, and airports. Now imagine that, but with three global trends all happening at once. So here's the bottom line. The combined demand from AI, green energy, and defense isn't just growing steadily, it's going vertical. Right now, today, the need for these materials is exploding. This isn't just a market fluctuation, it's a fundamental reshaping of who gets what on the global stage. But what about the supply? And this is where the math gets really scary. See, for the past decade, there's been chronic underinvestment in finding and developing new mines. And compounding that problem is the fact that it takes, on average, 16 years to bring a new mine from discovery all the way to actual production. So demand is exploding now, but new supply is over a decade away. You see the problem? Okay, but before we wrap this up, we have to be realistic. We need to look at the potential risks here. Because while this super cycle thesis is a powerful one, it is not a guaranteed outcome, and it's really important to understand the full picture. There are definitely several big risks to think about. First, mining is just a notoriously volatile cyclical industry. Second, what if China makes a strategic decision to just flood the market with cheap metals? That could cause prices to collapse. There's also the chance that new technologies create substitutes for some of these metals, and of course, a major global recession would certainly slash demand across the board. And finally, any big new project always faces the threat of regulatory and execution delays. So what's the big takeaway from all this? That $1.6 billion investment, it's way more than just a bet on a single company. It's a signal that we are entering a new era where securing the physical stuff that powers our digital world, our green transition, and our national security is becoming a top priority. And that leaves us with this final critical question. As this new industrial age is being built, who is going to control the raw materials that build it?